I'm so excited because I finally get to sit down and answer all of these questions. You guys have asked me so many amazing questions that I'm just really looking forward to sitting down and answering. It's Mel here and welcome back to Mel's Blind Life, the YouTube channel all about blindness, and welcome to this much awaited question and answer video. I know I said over a month ago that I was going to do it. Things got a little bit out of control, so I didn't end up doing it. And so I put up the video last week asking for your questions, and well, you ask and you shall receive. I'm so excited because I finally get to sit down and answer all of these questions. You guys have asked me so many amazing questions that I'm just really looking forward to sitting down and answering. I have on my knee here, you probably can't see it, my MacBook Pro. I've got it open with Boot Camp into Windows 8. Which is my preferred way of doing stuff. Even though I'm a Mac user and I have a MacBook, my favorite way of doing word processing is still on Microsoft Word with a Windows computer. So that is what I have got here, that I've written all your questions down. You guys sent me questions in Instagram, you sent me questions on the YouTube comments, a couple of people sent me direct messages as well. So I'm just really excited to have received all of your questions and to be answering them today. So during the background of this video, you will be hearing a strange synthesized voice. This is the voice of JAWS, which is a screen reading program that I have on my computer, and it's going to read my questions that I have to answer that you guys have submitted. So let's get started with the very first question. Now, before I get too carried away, I'm going to just let you guys know that in the background you can hear Penny chewing her bone. I think that's Darcy actually, maybe, I'm not sure. There are two sections to this question and answer. There is a general one, which I'm going to do today, about blindness, and there is also a horse riding one that I'm going to do later on in the week. So keep your eyes open for that one on Friday. But for now, we're just going to answer the general questions that you guys have sent to me. So the first question we have is from Steve, and Steve has asked, what are the most rewarding or difficult things about being a blind YouTuber? So I think for me, the most rewarding thing about being a blind YouTuber is when you guys put in the comment section down below that you've recently lost your vision, and some of the things that I have shown on my videos have helped you with your sight loss journey. I had a comment just yesterday on my video I published yesterday from someone who had lost their vision only a couple of years ago, who said that my channel has helped them to gain some of their confidence and everything back since they lost their vision. And I get comments like that quite often. I know quite a few of you have lost your vision in the last 5 or 10 years, and my channel has been something that you have been able to use as a tool to advance your skills and to understand the world of blindness or low vision. So that is probably the most rewarding thing, when I get comments from you guys telling me that you've recently lost your vision and thanking me for the extra confidence in everything that has helped you develop. Now, one of the most difficult things about being a blind YouTuber is not being able to edit my videos to be visually pleasing. I know that a lot of people who do YouTube who have either an editor who does all of their editing for them, or who are fully sighted, have some really, really good video qualities. But for me, I don't have the resources or the skills to edit those sorts of things myself. So one of the most frustrating things I have is when someone comments, oh, your video was upside down, or oh, just to let you know, you had the front camera active when you thought you had the rear camera active, and things like that, that make my videos look unprofessional. It doesn't matter that they may sound as professional as possible, but when my videos don't look professional, I find that really disappointing and really upsetting, because I want sighted people to enjoy my channel as much as blind people, and in order for that to happen, it doesn't just have to sound good, it has to look good, and I can't make it look that good. So that is probably the most difficult thing I find about having a YouTube channel and being a blind YouTuber. So thank you very much, Steve, for those questions. So Patrick in the Dark has asked me a couple of questions. First of all, what is the most embarrassing question someone has ever asked you? I'm not sure. Most embarrassing, I don't know, like maybe something along the lines of, how do you know when you need to blow your nose, or something, you know, gross like that. How do you know when you've got your period? Those kinds of things are always a bit embarrassing. So I guess I can't think of any particular one, but I guess it's embarrassing when someone asks you about a self-care, self-hygiene sort of thing, because you've got low vision or blindness. So then the next part of Patrick in the Dark's questions is, what question has shocked you the most, and what question has made you laugh? Now, the reason why I'm putting these two questions together is because the answer to both what has shocked you the most and what has made you laugh is the same question. So a few years back, I was living in Melbourne, which is the state capital of Victoria. It's a city with 3 million people. It's the second biggest city in Australia. I was living in, I guess you could call it an inner suburb, only 20 minutes on the train from the CBD, and I was working in an outer suburb, which was about 40 minutes down the line from where I was living. So I was on the train one day after work. I was working at a school for children who were blind, had low vision, and had additional needs. And I was on the train. I remember I was standing because it was super duper crowded, and I had my backpack on my back with my laptop and all my work stuff in it. And I had Darcy, who was, I'm going to say, about 4 or 5 at the time, lying sort of just on the floor of the train between my feet, as he did when we were standing, and it was really crowded. And a lady came up to me and asked me my all-time least favorite guide dog question, what's its name, and all of the standard questions about Darcy, and I obliged and answered them. And then she turns to me and she says, so who takes off its harness and looks after it for you? You know, when you go home, who is responsible for the dog, essentially? And I looked at this woman and I didn't know whether to burst out laughing or just be completely shocked, because I was really surprised that this woman was asking me who looked after my dog for me. At the time, I was renting a bungalow in the rear of a friend's house, but I was essentially looking after myself. The only thing that they sort of did for me was sometimes we'd go to the supermarket and stuff like that together. So I was shocked and wanted to burst out into laughter because this woman had asked me who looked after my dog for me. So that is probably the funniest and most surprising question I've had. Okay, so Sarah has asked, what is it like accessing services that you need because of your blindness? So I guess it depends what kind of services we're talking about. If we're talking about services for orientation, mobility, and occupational therapy and stuff like that to do with my blindness, I'm a client of Guide Dogs Victoria, which I'm wearing one of their t-shirts today. Whoops, that was an accidental marketing thing. Sorry, Guide Dogs. Yes, I'm a client of Guide Dogs Victoria, and they have an occupational therapist. Obviously, they do guide dog mobility, they do orientation mobility, they have an orthoptist, and I'm not sure what, and they have people who help you with the NDIS, National Disability Insurance Scheme. So to get support from them, for me, it's very easy because I'm already a client. I just ring up like I did last week and I talk to the client services administration team and tell them what I want, and they refer that to the appropriate department, which might be the orientation mobility department, and the head of that department will call me back and go through in a bit more detail what I want to achieve in a program. If it's learning a new route, doing some long cane skills, stuff like that. And then she will assign an orientation mobility specialist to come and visit me within, I think at the moment their waiting period is like 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. And that person will then come in that time and we will do the work together. And that is the same way that an occupational therapist or an orthoptist would come and assist me from Guide Dogs Victoria. Now, if we're talking about things like the National Disability Insurance Scheme, which is a funding program for people who have all range of different abilities to get funding to access the services that they require. That's a little bit more complicated. You have to be approved for the NDIS with a piece of paper signed by your doctor that says that you have a disability and that it impacts your life. You then have to go through meetings to talk about what you need. You have to have a plan made with your local area coordinator. Your plan has to be submitted and approved by the NDIA, which is the agency who handles the scheme, and then it has to be put into action by the NDIA and your local area coordinator so that you can begin to access the funding that you require. Now, the sort of things that are funded under the NDIS are guide dogs, wheelchairs, support. So I have 4 hours a week with my lovely support worker, Camille. all of her hours are paid for through the NDIA. Any sort of assistive technology, I've just received a Victorita Trek, which is a great little device that I'm going to do some reviews on very, very soon. That was paid for through my funding. So the NDIA is a little bit more complicated to get onto, but it's well worth it. And there are other services like the disability support pension, which obviously has to be proved by a doctor that you've got a disability, and you have to go through the tax department, and it's a bit of a pain, that one. And the NDIA and the Centrelink, which is the agency who runs the pension, the disability support pension, they're both government agencies. So, you know what a government agency is like, I'm sure. So that is what it's like accessing all the different services that I have in Australia for people who are blind or have low vision. I hope that answered your question. Sorry, I rambled a bit. Okay. I'm not sure who asked me this question, so sorry if I didn't, because I haven't got your name. But the next question is, do you watch/listen to any sport? Yes, I love sport. I'm a massive fan of Australian rules football. I go for the Sydney Swans. I am also a fan of National Rugby League here in Australia, and I go for the Cronulla Sharks. I'm a huge tennis fan. So I literally, for 2 weeks in January, I had this couch that I'm sitting on is actually a sofa. So for 2 weeks, I literally had the sofa bed stretched out across my living room floor, and I slept in my living room for 2 weeks in January listening to the Australian Tennis Open. So I love tennis, I love football, I love rugby. I'm not a big fan of the Olympics. I might listen to some of the swimming and maybe some of the equestrian events at the Olympics. I do not listen to horse racing, and I do not support horse racing, but tennis, footy, rugby are my three main ones, and I'm not a big cricket fan either. Okay, so I got lots of questions about this next one, and I haven't named any individual person for submitting this question because I think about 3, maybe even 4 of you asked this question. And the question is, do you play any online accessible games? And if so, which is your favorite? So, I'm not a big gaming person. I'm not really into games on the phone at all. I try to limit my use of my phone as much as possible. But my favorite online accessible game is probably DiceWorld. I will link DiceWorld down in the description down below. And I will also put my username in the description if you would like to challenge me to a game. So DiceWorld is my favorite. It is, it's got, I think it's 6 dice games. It's got Yahtzee, Farkle, 1 4 24, Threes, Pig, and Ballot or Balut, or however you pronounce that one, which I don't even like that one. And you can play it against the phone, or you can challenge people to play it. It's fully accessible with voiceover, and it has some pretty good, I've heard that it has some pretty good contrast modes for people who have low vision as well. So it's really accessible. You can sign up to it through Facebook, or you can create your own username. So I will link that in the description down below. So that is my favorite online game, and I do play it a little bit too often, I'm gonna say, and I really enjoy it. So Jordan has said to me, do you know any accessible games for iOS? So obviously DiceWorld is on all platforms, both iOS and Android. I also know of some of the blindfold games. There's a big group of games called blindfold games. I don't know very many, unfortunately, because I'm just not a big gamer. So definitely the blindfold games. There's another one that I play occasionally called Trivia Crack, and I really enjoy that one. So I'll link, as I said, I'll link DiceWorld in the description down below, and I'll also link for you down in the description down below. I'll link the blindfold game app and the what did I say? The Trivia Crack, sorry, app in the description as well. The next question is, do you get dizzy being blind? So the answer to this one is no. Well, no. The answer is yes, I do get dizzy, but no, it's not related to my vision impairment. It's actually related to a medical condition. I have quite low blood pressure, and that can cause dizziness, and sometimes I see like stars behind my eyes, and, well, not stars, but you know, funny colored lines and stuff. So yeah, I do get dizzy occasionally, but it's related to a medical condition, not my blindness. Does being blind affect your sleep-wake cycle? Anyone who knows me will tell you right here and now, I sleep like a log. I go to bed, I put my head on my pillow, and I can guarantee you within 10 minutes I will be snoring. And I will not stop snoring for the next 8 hours. I do find that if I'm really inactive for quite a long time, I don't sleep as well. But for the most part, I sleep really, really well. I always have slept really, really well. But I've always had a little bit of light perception as well. I've only got a tiny bit of light perception left now. Obviously, as a child, I had more vision than I do now. So it'll be interesting to see whether losing the rest of my light perception does affect my sleeping and waking cycle. I don't think it will, because I'm so good at sleeping. Honestly, if sleeping was an Olympic sport, I would probably be able to win at least the silver medal. So no, it does not affect my sleep-wake cycle. The next question is from Dale, and Dale has asked me, can you cook, and if so, how? So yes, I can cook. I am not a fancy cook. I cook to survive. I don't cook to feed the masses or anything like that. Usually when I'm cooking just dinner for myself, I will do, boil some vegetables in a pot on the stove and make some meat in the grill, or I will use my crock pot and make a casserole and then put it in the freezer and warm it up in the microwave. So really simple, basic stuff like that. And I do simple and basic not because I can't cook properly, but just because I can't be bothered. So usually I live off grilled meat and 3 veg, or frozen casseroles. I will probably cook a casserole like a tuna and rice casserole, or a spaghetti bolognese type thing, or even maybe some soup or something like that, probably once every couple of weeks. And then I'll put it in the freezer in single serves, and I'll get that out and defrost it and warm it up in the microwave when I really can't be bothered. And like I said, I will just stick a piece of meat in the grill and do either a packet of ready to steam vegetables for 5 minutes in the microwave, or I'll chop up some fresh veggies and boil them on the stove in the pot. And the final question for this Ask Me Anything question and answer is, who is your favorite music artist? And that is from Voyager 2. So my favorite musician, I have a really weird selection of music that I like. My dad, who probably was one of the first people to introduce me to music, my dad is a massive big band jazz supporter. He taught me my love of Benny Goodman and the Andrews Sisters, and all that sort of jazz music. My mum taught me my love of Queen and ABBA and the Four Seasons and Smokey. And since I was very young, I have loved artists such as Missy Higgins and the Veronicas and Kelly Clarkson and Pink and the Road Traders and Simple Plan and lots and lots of different artists. But my favorite artist of all time is probably Delta Goodrem. Delta is, if you haven't heard of her, Delta Goodrem is an amazing solo artist. She's from Sydney, Australia. She has several albums out. Her first album, Innocent Eyes, came out in 2003 when I was 9 years old. I remember very distinctly my friend gave me her album for Christmas that year on a CD, and she actually had, this friend was blind as well, and she actually had written all the titles of the songs in Braille label on the cover of the CD. So that was pretty amazing. So Delta Goodrem is my favorite artist of all time. I have got all of her albums, even the one that she did as a duo with Olivia Newton-John for a TV show a couple of years ago. I have seen Hating Alison Ashley, where she played Alison Ashley in 2005. I have basically every TV show that she was in I've ever seen. So yeah, Delta Goodrem is definitely my favorite music artist of all time. Please don't tell me you stopped. Sorry about that little camera mishap there. So that is all of the questions for the Ask Me Anything question and answer. I will link, as I said, some of the information to which I referred in the description down below. And also on Friday at 12:30 p.m. Australian summertime, which is, let me think about this one, 9:30 p.m. in New York City, and what did I say? 6:30 p.m. in Los Angeles. So I can't remember which one of those is Pacific time and which of those is whatever the other time's called. Sorry, Americans. Please let me know in the comments down below. Which one's Pacific time? Is that New York or Los Angeles? I'm not very good at your times. I'm sorry. And 12:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time for Australia, for those of you playing at home, is 1:30 a.m. on Friday morning in the United Kingdom. Sorry, I cannot get it to be during the daytime in all countries. It's very frustrating. I know. Damn time. Anyway, so keep your eye open for the equestrian Q&A. If you've got any last minute equestrian questions, please put them in the comment section down below. Otherwise, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all for subscribing to my channel. Please click the bell notifications so that you get notified when I do my next upload. And thank you all for being here, and share my channel with your friends and family, and I will see you all next time. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.